All right, welcome in, race fans. We're here for the Portland Grand Prix INDYCAR Fantasy Preview with Grid Rival. I'm Ryan Booth, the Director of Business Operations. With me, I have William Laddie, our Principal Software Engineer, and the great Ben Scruggs. We are unfortunately chaseless today, but he will be back for the Milwaukee Preview. And with that, I'm going to hand it over to William, and let's have a show.
Yeah, so we just had Laguna Seca 2 weeks ago, and we saw yet another dominant performance by Alex Palou closing in on the championship. This is pretty much a must win this weekend for Pato Award if he wants to keep the championship alive. Uh, so Palou dominated. We did see some interesting shenanigans at the beginning of the race, like we often do at Laguna, which did collect a few drivers, Simpson, Abel. We had that bizarre incident where Ericsson's car beached itself, like at the top of the corkscrew, and they sat on the yellow for a bit there. And this translates into some big losers more than winners in fantasy this past week. Our biggest value losers, Kiffin Simpson, taken out at the beginning of the race. Marcus Ericsson, Felix Rosenquist, Santino Ferrucci, Renus VK, Kyle Kirkwood, all losing like a million plus. Our big winners, Callum Iwat, had another good day in the Prima, and so he's gained the maximum of 2 million. Sixth place, not bad for a brand new team. Other big winners: Christian Rasmussen, Connor Daly, Scott McLaughlin, and Christian Lundgaard getting himself on the podium, as well as Colton Herta. That podium getting him $1 million gain. A lot of other drivers up and down smaller amounts. 3 races to go. We're interested at this point in maximizing our points more than chasing bargains because there pretty much is no tomorrow. We have this last road course at Portland's, and then we have 2 ovals, and then we'll see you in presumably March. The schedule for 26 isn't out yet, but presumably that's when they'll start.
There's some fake schedules that are circulating.
There's
I don't know
some
if you've
very
seen those.
Yeah.
humorous, they're humorous and like somewhat absurd schedules. If you want a good laugh, you got to fill the off week somehow, I guess.
Well, I mean, speaking of humorous, I think it's the anyone talking about the championship race at this point. I think you have Fox and some Twitter personalities trying to sell that this is still very much competitive and up in the air, and I do not think that's even remotely close to true.
Yeah, like unless there's some horrible cheating scandal that comes out, like I don't think Pelo's getting caught this year. But let's not write off the season yet. We still have 3 races. You're going to have 3 winners who may not all be Alex Pelot, as great as he's been. He's won half the races. He deserves the championship. But there is still some great competition throughout the field, both on the track and in the championship. So definitely still watch these last 3 races. And let's get into our tiers. We'll start with the first tier of Alex Pillow, Scott Dixon, Pato Award, and Colton Herta, ranging from 27.6 million to 21.1 million. And what are we calling this tier, Ryan?
You say goodbye and I say Pillow. Great song by the Beatles, and no one can beatle Pillow right now. He is just, like I said, running away with this thing. He's been incredible all year, consistent on every single type of track, and I see no reason that he's going to fall back here.
Yeah, yeah, Pillow definitely would seems to be the favorite to win this week. The last 2 weeks are ovals. We have seen him win on ovals like Indy or Iowa, but ovals do have a little bit more volatility. I think they'll be all the happier to lock that championship down before anything silly could happen at Milwaukee. Remember last year, Pillow was in position to clinch the championship, 2 races left, and the battery was dead. I guess somebody left the lights on overnight. And so Power was about to jump him in the championship until he spun low on his own. And then Pillow was in the lead again, despite the dead battery. So anything's possible. Can't take anything for granted, but certainly Pillow's odds on favorite. I think Pato Award's going to be boom or bust. He pretty much has to win to keep the championship alive. And assuming they still care about that, they're going to do whatever crazy gamble it takes to maybe get him on top of the podium. So I think anything's possible with Award.
Yeah, you mentioned ovals being a little more volatile. That's certainly true. But if any road course kind of rivals ovals on volatility, it's probably Portland.
It sure
Uh,
is.
yeah, the turn 1 2 chicane complex, turn 8. It's deceptively kind of fraught with peril. Let's put it that way, especially with the kinds of personalities we've got in the cars in current year. So yeah, I think it's a foregone conclusion. Alex Palou, he's kind of the, if you can afford him, you kind of can't not run him. Bit of a no brainer there. I would definitely not start Pato. Um, McLaren just doesn't have a good history here for whatever reason. Not really sure why, but yeah, Andretti has kind of had their foibles over the years. I really see this as a Penske slash Ganassi track. Obviously, Penske's had their issues, but yeah, as far as this tier, I Herta had a chance to win last year. Stalled in the pits. Where have we heard that before? And then used the hybrid to restart in the pits, which you're not allowed to do. So he was penalized for that with track position. So yeah, it's if everything goes right for Colton Herta is a good play, but yeah, yeah, I really this is the Pelot show, and we're just happy to be here.
I think
Yeah.
Hurt is signable for the rest of the season at this point, given that he is a capable ovals driver as well. And yeah, if they don't make mistakes, they're a podium contender.
Yeah, I mean, I really do like Herta this week and the and at both the ovals coming up here. I think he's definitely someone to sign, just have for the rest of the season. Pelot, obviously, I think Pelot, you pretty much have to have him in your lineup, especially at Portland this week. I guess you could probably justify not having him for the ovals, but I think for this week, it's a complete no brainer, especially as we wind down in the season here. If you're leading your league, you want the guy with the highest floor. You don't want any disasters. Like Pelot is that guy. And yeah, I think what you had said earlier about Pato, I'm not high on Pato here, both because McLaren has been, you guys summed it up perfectly. But also just they really do have to have any chance, he has to win. And Pelot has to have a failure. So they're going to be, I think if you're Pato, you try and qualify up there. Pelot probably puts it on the pole again because he always does. And then I think you just have to go with whatever tire strategy he doesn't start on and just see what happens. It might be an inferior strategy, but like if you run the exact same thing as Pelot, I don't think you're ever going to jump him or beat him on track. You need to run a different strategy, hope the yellows fall your way, or just hope that you were on the right strategy and Pelot's team gets it wrong. I think that's the only chance he has to beat Pelot outside of, some sort of mechanical issue or Pelot gets caught up in traffic and someone wrecks him. But yeah, other than that, I don't think Pato's a great play this week.
And speaking of strategy, so Portland 110 laps. This has traditionally been a 3 stopper. Occasionally somebody finishes well with a 4 stopper. Tire deg is going to be huge this week, though. Temps are supposed to be about 94, which may make this the hottest Portland on record. So yeah, that's going to increase tire deg. Last year, this was very, very clearly a red race, which is pretty rare. Year before, I think it was more mixed, more towards blacks. There's a chance that reds fall off horribly. We just don't know. So practice and qualifying are going to be key. Once tire declarations come out in the morning, if you didn't know, all the IndyCar teams publish which tire they're going to start on at some point in the morning, well before the race. So plenty of time to set your lineups based on that if you don't like the strategy call they're making. But that said, tire dig race, Alex Palou, that's, it seems like this year, Alex Palou to tire dig race is Scott Dixon to fuel save race. That's really his bread and butter. Betting against him in this kind of situation is just not a good idea.
Speaking of Scott Dixon, do we want Scott Dixon on our rosters? I think he might be a bit overpriced, as consistent as he tends to be.
I mean, generally, if you can afford Dixon, you can probably afford Pillow. And I don't know that I'm so confident in CGR that I want to take both of them. Certainly not for the duration. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, 18, was it 18? The Miracle on Dirt where
Dixon did everything except run into something on that start. Yeah,
yep.
that video was circulating social media today.
Yeah, got hit like 3-4 times. I think was it Marco flew over the top of Hinch. I mean, all time great crash footage in IndyCar, that's for sure, and an all time great win to recover from that. This is pre-hybrid restart. He kept the thing running and was able to get it in reverse. Which, if you watched a lot of IndyCar, you know how hard it is for them to get the thing in reverse. At least it used to be. Now I believe it's electric with the hybrid. But yeah, just a masterful, just masterclass by Dixon that year. But we're 7 years removed from that. Yeah, I don't know. I think he's got as good a chance as anybody else in this tier not named Alex Palou. But 24.9 million, that's pretty steep.
I think if you have a really high team budget and you can afford both of them, it makes sense. But I think for most lineups, it's probably one or the other with Palou and Dixon at those high prices. And I think you have to prioritize signing Palou. Dixon's kind of like a luxury pick. If you can afford him, that's great. And he's going to be, I would assume, a very solid add to the lineup. But, I'm not going to be dropping guys or moving things around just to get Dixon in the lineup at that price.
Yeah. Before we move on, I should address this. This is a joke. This is my Portland fit for y'all's benefit. So yeah, it's getting hot in here. I'm taking it off.
Yeah, I understand. Well, it's going to be hot in Portland. So that's 90s are pretty toasty in Portland. Like I lived up in Seattle for a few years. Like the Northwest and 90s just don't go together usually.
Yeah, I was pretty shocked to hear that forecast. Shout out to IndyCar Weatherman on Twitter. Always a good follow. But yeah, definitely averages in the 70s usually for this race. So 94 is huge. It's going to be a big difference as far as tires go.
Yeah. Before we get on to the next tier, I see a question in chat from Jeffrey about incomplete lineups. If you don't have a full lineup, your talent driver does not score double points. Your team still scores points. If you only have 5 drivers, they will score their points. If one of them has the star, it doesn't matter. The star doesn't count because your lineup's not full. But any drivers that you do have signed are going to score points, even if it's not a complete lineup.
Yeah, you'll score points, but you will not do well. Because you will not get you're missing a driver and you're not getting double points. So
if you're missing a driver, you're missing 2 drivers.
Yeah. So it is an extremely poor decision from a lineup construction standpoint. So anyone in your league that did that definitely fell behind. So they did score points, but they definitely did not score enough points.
Yeah. Bold strategy. Bold strategy.
I suspect that was like somebody forgot to fill the spot on their roster. That's my guess. That's usually how people get caught.
And shout out D Britt. He said he's on his way to Portland right now. So we'll have some boots on the ground from some chat members.
Jealous.
Yeah. Has Flo won every road course? I don't think he's won every road course. Pretty darn
Kirkwood won one.
Right. Kirkwood's got one.
Not Barber. What did he win? IndyGP? No, Palou won IndyGP. Yeah. Good question.
Palou lost. Palou went off was that Ohio?
At Ohio, maybe?
He got
was when Dixon won, right?
Second at Mid Ohio.
Because he was running Dixon first. Yeah, he was running first and he went off track.
He threw that one away, but he finished.
Yeah, he should have won.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, okay. Yeah. I thought there was another one. I thought Kirkwood got one, but maybe he just got street courses.
Those are streets. Yeah, it's fun. It's funny sitting here being like, Palou threw it away, finished second. What a horrible result! What a horrible result for Palou.
That's the world we live in. I mean, And to be fair to all the pundits that are out there trying to hype up this championship finish as if it's not already decided, hey, three DNFs and we've got a ball game. I mean, it's, stranger things have happened.
Hate to put the curse on anybody. Like, an oval is a great way to like lose the car and just like randomly break your wrist on a wall. So hopefully that doesn't happen. But
and to be clear, while Pelot does, I think, has this thing wrapped up, and it's very stupid to even talk about this being a competition. That is not a knock on the point system. Pelot is a very deserving champion, and sometimes drivers just have seasons like this. This is not me advocating for any sort of stupid playoff system.
If you win half the races, you deserve the championship, and it's a crime if you don't win the championship. You win half the races.
Yeah, guess what? It's exciting.
I'm cheering at this point, like, let Pelot win every race. I want to see him get to 11. Like, I want to see how high he can run the number up. That's what my eyes are on these last few weeks.
Yeah,
it doesn't matter how badly he can crush the field.
Yeah, even if he locks up this whole thing this weekend, like, that's no reason to not tune in to the next two races. There's still plenty to watch. There's plenty of fun. There's a lot of excitement. Just the champion's already been crowned, and good for him. Congratulations, he deserves it.
You don't think Penske is desperate for redemption as we close out the year after the horrible? This is probably their worst year as an organization since 1995, when they infamously double DNQ'd the Indy 500.
Easily. Yeah, I mean, I was saving that for Will Power in the next tier, but Will Power ran away with this thing last year, so there's potential there that he could do it again. So it was very clear, because this was what, third or fourth race with the hybrid last year. Penske figured it out to a certain point well before everybody else. So they've got data going fast around this place. They had the strategy going around this place, but other teams have caught up or passed them. So, do I trust Will Power to have a strong showing? I do. So I think this could be a big Penske redemption arc moment.
And I was saving this for the next year too. Like, all the talks to me about Will Power, like, this guy's probably driving for his career. Like, he does not have an extension signed with Penske, and the latest quote from him is talking about when he can start talking to other teams. Like, that sounds kind of bearish on the chance of that contract getting extended. And let's get into the second tier. We talked about Will Power. We'll put them in salary order as usual. Christian Lundgaard, Marcus Armstrong, Will Power, Kyle Kirkwood, Santino Ferrucci, and Arenas VK, rounding out our above talent eligible drivers. And what are we calling these drivers, Ryan?
This is the Timber tier. Portland has the Portland Timbers, their MLS team. If your arms are strong and you have the willpower, you can cut down a tree and beat someone like Kyle Kirkwood. Also, the song Timber, shout out Kesha and Pitbull.
There you go. Pitbull, until recently, part owner of a NASCAR team. Like, he bailed at the beginning of the year, but yeah, little racing tie there.
Well, he shouldn't have bailed. Trackhouse is racking up wins in the Cup Series.
Yeah, he got off right before. So this tier, I mean, Power, we talked about, he's got some history here, and he's hungry, and he's a potential contender. Who else do we like out of this tier?
No one.
Marcus Armstrong. Marcus Armstrong, 5th last year, qualified 7th, or probably qualified 8th. We'll get back to that. I think if you're gonna double up on Ganassi, Pelot Dixon is a little too rich for my blood, but Pelot Armstrong, I mean, and again, to explain to everybody, MSR has a technical partnership with CGR, so they're essentially the 4th and 5th Ganassi car. They share all the same engineering data. They're in the same war room every weekend. So he's kind of my sneaky double CGR pick.
Yeah, I mean, Armstrong's been great. He should be great here. I just think that there are some questions at $20 million. He's obviously had such a good season to get him up to this price point, but I just don't know if I trust him as such an expensive driver that eats up so much of your salary in the lineup. But I mean, I would be shocked. He should finish top 10. I just think there's some better options maybe down the board. Speaking of the Penske redemption arc, and like Will Power is cheaper than Marcus Armstrong. So I'm going Will Power for sure over him. But yeah, I just don't think Armstrong fits into many lineups the way that the budget's constructed. Lundgaard is interesting because everything kind of says he should be good on every road course, and he is strong at places like this. But McLaren, maybe this is not their best track. I don't think even Lundgaard has great history here in different cars. But I just don't think. I think Lundgaard's shown us enough that you can never just count him out at any sort of road course, and he has the potential to put on the podium and be very strong.
Yeah, for sure. I get what you're saying about Lundgaard, and you're absolutely correct. I just don't like McLaren here at Portland for whatever reason. Pato ended up like a lap down pretty early in the race last year, so he was able to claw back somehow. But yeah, I wasn't able to see how that transpired. Because he wasn't getting much coverage at that point. But yeah, McLaren was really a non-factor last 2 years, I believe. So it's tough. I like him better than I like Pato at the moment. But he's just a touch too aggressive for me. I feel like if he's not starting drama, he's certainly not letting drama go at Portland. Certainly not as aggressive as his countryman, the other Christian, but I don't like it. But I see the upside there. I see why you like him.
Yeah, I'm kind of down on Lundgaard, not just because the team struggled, but because I do wonder if they would prioritize Pato if that came to it in any way.
I mean, they definitely will. I would assume, at least. I think it'd be a very poor choice to not put everything you can into whatever slim chances you have of Pato still being alive for this championship. I don't think it'll ruin a race. I think it's a little different than when you see priority in F1, because the one lap difference in pit stops can mean everything. It's a little less so in IndyCar, but yes, I do think they'll be prioritizing everything with Pato here.
Yeah, they're not going to undercut Pato.
Right.
Like if Pato's behind them, there might be that radio message that's Pato behind you.
Yeah, move on
with a wink and a nod.
Yeah, there could be a block or a hey, wink, nod, let him by situation. If, like you said, if they're on the same strategy, exactly, avoiding the undercut on a teammate in championship contention. But yeah, I don't see anything more egregious than that as far as team orders go. Yes, this is McLaren. Yes, this is an F1 organization related.
Papaya rules.
Yeah. Well, I mean, look at papaya rules in F1 right now. They're pretty non-existent. So
yeah, just don't hit each other.
Yeah, I feel like and that's been a problem in the past. There was a lot of argy-bargy with Felix Rosenqvist and Rossi and Pato in the past. I think you have a pretty clear pecking order right now. Even though occasionally Lundgaard is outperforming Pato. Pato's the number one, Lundgaard's the number two, Siegel is there.
Yeah. He's done enough to earn another year, I think, but I think we're going to want to see a lot more from him next year, for sure.
Yeah, the next year's definitely the prove it year for me. Yeah, I agree. He's run well enough to earn a spot in IndyCar, a spot in a McLaren car. I think he's kind of
really you don't see him doing things that are just boneheaded. You don't see him running into people, which that's the first step. Well,
rewatching last year's race, he did overcook it. He did get baited by one Toby Sowery in the coin car that they shared for half the year. Got baited pretty hard and went long in a corner. So, but that was a full year ago. So, certainly not going to judge Nolan Siegel by something he did a year ago in one of his first drives for McLaren. So
Yeah, looking
I
at the
think
rest of this tier, like I like Armstrong. I think Armstrong's a bit expensive at this point. Like I do like Armstrong, and it's amazing to see how he seems to be beating Rosenquist now. So yeah, we'll see how this carries on into future years. I think they found something there. Power, we've talked about Power a bit. Yeah, I like Power. Kirkwood, I'm not so sure about. Portland wasn't great for them last year, and street courses tends to be better for Andretti. Maybe I look at Kirkwood for the ovals more than I do Portland. Ferrucci, I'm not interested in, and VK, kind of a weird spot. Like they're like sometimes they look good, sometimes they look like Dale Coyne Racing, and I think he's a flyer. There might be
yeah,
better options in the next tier if you're looking at a
eight,
VK, not talent eligible.
yeah, 18 and a half is a lot to spend when the downside is looks like Dale Coyne Racing. I think that's it's a totally different conversation at 13, 14 million, but VK is just too expensive right now. And I think the same thing is true with Ferrucci. I don't want really any part of those two. Maybe if they have a bad race and drop below talent driver, then they're worth a look for these last two races. But for here at Portland at these prices, no, thank you. And I think that for me, I have heard I think significantly better than Kirkwood here and in the next two races. So I don't think Kirkwood is making any of my lineups for the rest of the year. Um, at least at this point, things can change very quickly. We have practice in a couple hours, and that might change my mind entirely. But as of now, that's where I'm sitting with the Andretti guys.
I don't hate Kirkwood at Milwaukee. He did win at Gateway, so he might be a sneaky short oval play, but yeah, I don't like him this week. Much more so than Herta. Let's see. Last year he was sort of the impetus for Dixon's ruined day. He did push Dixon off. Dixon at least blamed Kirkwood for that whole interchange where he pushed Dixon off. Dixon rejoins. Now it's three wide with him, someone else, and Pietro Fittipaldi. Pietro Fittipaldi cases it on the curb, kicks him left, punts Dixon off. So Fittipaldi got the penalty there, but a uncharacteristically animated Scott Dixon was casting all the shade towards Kirkwood. Later in the race, he got a 2-spot penalty for blocking Toby Sowery too. So we get the Hulk hands flying with Kirkwood for whatever reason at Portland. 2023 was odd too. Coming to green, just Kirkwood and Newgarden just completely blew the chicane, which put them in the back of the field. Never really recovered from there. So, yeah, I don't know. I think he's the main reason why I have this kind of negative attitude towards Andretti here at Portland. So maybe I was a little too harsh on Herta, but I'm definitely skipping Kirkwood.
All right. Any other thoughts about this tier before we move on?
I'm good.
All right. So let's get into talent driver territory. And at the top of that list, we've got Scott McLaughlin, Connor Daly, Joseph Newgarden, Christian Rasmussen, and David Malukas, ranging between $17.1 and $16 million. And what are we calling this bunch of drivers?
This is the green thumb tier. If you have a new garden, you have to tend to it daily. Maybe you could use some Scott's lawn products to do so.
All right.
And if you water your plants, that's how you get green. That's how you get green. You increase your value. You want to see the color green on your lineup.
You do.
Connor's in the AM/PM purple machine this week. No green.
Darn.
Well, he's up 1.3. He's green on my spreadsheet.
There you go.
That AM/PM car is ugly.
He's got some
I love
Irish
it.
ancestry,
Really?
So there's some green by default there.
You're wearing purple.
Oh, I like purple. I just don't like the AM/PM scheme.
I don't know. Purple and orange was always my thing as a kid. I can't explain it.
So McLaughlin and Newgarden, what do we think? What do you think about these two Penske drivers?
I have a long memory. I have a lot of hours in watching these guys dominate. Um, this has not been their year. This has been a disaster, like you said. You know, as bad as '95 or possibly worse. You know, this is the bottom. But you know, you can't stay at the bottom forever. And I know I'm a broken record here. I've been saying it week after week. There's there's gonna be a turnaround. Where it happens, when it happens, I don't know. But that's super tempting for me seeing Scotty in talent driver territory, especially going into a couple ovals. 17.1. So yeah, I don't know. Maybe you hold off. Maybe you wait until next week in Milwaukee to sign him. But I I don't know. I like him. I like him. I don't love him. Daily, I don't think so. And I think while both of the Penske guys have been snake bit, I feel like Joseph's gotten the worst of it and continues to get the worst of it. So I feel like Scott's in the better headspace. Scott's going to be the one to turn it around of these two. But then again, Will Power doesn't really need to turn it around. Will Power's had some decent results already this year. So, it's probably too much exposure to double dip on Penske. So it's all about how much you trust Will Power, and I trust him pretty completely here. So it's gonna hurt me deep in my soul, but I think I gotta skip both McLaughlin and Newgarden.
I mean, I've been hurt by the Penske so many times that I don't even think I feel the pain anymore. I'm just numb to it. I'll be running at least one of these guys just for like Newgarden or McLaughlin is probably going to be my talent driver. I don't really know which one yet. I'll probably base that off practice times or where they qualify, especially if one's looked good in practice and is starting deeper in the field. I think he's probably a good choice for talent driver. He should rack up some overtake points. I think, and again, too, like I almost hope. I think the ideal run out here is you take McLaughlin the rest of the year. He's good in Portland, good on the ovals, and then Newgarden maybe has a bad Portland, and then he's your talent driver for the next two races on those ovals. Because I mean, speaking of bad luck, Newgarden should probably have 4 wins this year. I think you can pretty easily say he had 3 races where he like both Iowa races and Gateway were his race 100%. And you could even look at the Indy 500 and say he probably should have won that. Obviously, those are all ovals, but it's just the fact that Newgarden is 16.1 million is that's insane. The luck has just been so bad. But Newgarden will 100% be in my lineup for the last 2 races of the season. Portland, I think it's probably lean towards McLaughlin, but it's again, it's going to be practice times. But I can almost guarantee I'll have one of these two on my team, and that driver will be my talent driver, maybe both.
Yeah, yeah. Newgarden has had a much better year than 15th in the championship would suggest. Uh, a lot of things have not gone his way. As far as the Penske guys, I think they're both signable at Portland's. I like McLaughlin a bit better than Newgarden, and then they're definitely both signable for the ovals. And Newgarden is almost certainly talent eligible for Milwaukee. Probably will be for Nashville as well if you want to go that route. I'm out on Connor Daly. I'm going to save him for the ovals. He is also a very strong talent driver candidate for those two ovals that we have left. Um, so of those three drivers, those are my thoughts there. Rasmussen and Malukas, like Rasmussen, he's one of those guys like he'll give you a top 10 or he'll crash. There's really no middle grounds. Yeah, I think it's a bit too volatile for this point in the year, and I'm not sure I like AJ Foyt racing at Portland. So, and those are like de facto Penske cars as far as I know. So, yeah, I'm not enthusiastic about Malukas this week. So yeah, McLaughlin, then Newgarden, then you can leave the rest.
Yep. And then Daly is the guy you start looking at when they go back to ovals. I don't think anyone should want any part of Daly here at Portland. I'm probably in the same boat with Rasmussen as well.
Yeah. G Brit wondering why we don't walk our IndyCar game at qualifying like we do with F1. In our F1 game, we award points for qualifying. With IndyCar, we don't. And also, like honestly, as you look at a race weekends, like you look at F1 weekends, a lot of eyeballs are on qualifying. That's very decisive for how Sunday is going to go. Not so much in IndyCar, which I would argue is a feature that you can have a lot of movement, from where you qualified. And so, people are not necessarily paying as much attention to qualifying. So we leave you until Sunday to set your lineup. And you have that extra information, and you'll have to decide, is this a legitimate qualifying run, or is this somebody who's going to fade as the race goes on? Is this guy who qualified at the back actually a lot better than he seems? And it's a different challenge, is what I'd say. All right. Are we ready for the next tier?
Let's do it.
Next tier, we have Graham Rahal, Felix Rosenquist, Kiffin Simpson, Alexander Rossi, Marcus Ericsson, and Callum Ilott between 15.9 and 13.4 million. And which tier is this?
Going, Oregon. We got a lot of red here. Very tough Monterey for all of these guys, except Ilott, but for most of these guys. And I think Marcus Ericsson isn't the only driver in here looking to turn over a new leaf.
All right. So, who are our favorites out of this tier?
I'm big on Graham Rahal, which, I don't get to say that very often, and I enjoy saying that. So basically, he got pole 2 years in a row. Last year, he was on pole, but had a engine failure with a 10-spot grid penalty. So yeah, for whatever reason, there's some good juju there. Bobby won here back in the day, way back in the day. Yeah, he actually moved forward too. I think, what did he start? 12th. Yeah, started 12th, finished 9th last year, respectable. I think if they roll off slow and don't qualify well, that probably does not bode well for Sunday. RLL has definitely improved their game on Saturday, not so much on Sunday. It's rare for them to go forward, which means it's rare for them to score a bunch of points. But let's see, what would that have scored him? 101 points last year's effort with that grid penalty. So figure he would have probably scored considerably higher if he'd been able to keep his front row starting position.
Yeah, I like Rahal the best out of this group, I think. They've had some good results on road courses. I think my next favorite choice is Kiffin Simpson. This is a more gambly choice. When he avoids trouble, he's been producing good results. The question is, can he avoid trouble? Which that is a very big if at Portland's, where, as we said before, turn one can get very hairy in particular. So I like Simpson the next best. It is a more volatile choice than give me Felix Rosenquist. We know what the equipment's capable of. We see what his teammates doing. We see what the Ganassi guys are doing. I think Ilott is very signable. They've been going in the right direction. Rossi and Ericsson, I really don't want. Like if I had to rank these guys, I'd probably say Ilott, Rahal, Simpson, Rosenquist, and the other guys are not on my board. What do you think, Ryan?
This is a tough tier. I am not even really 100% what I want to do, knowing what I want to do here, and I think this comes down to practice. It's I know it's a lame kind of cop out answer. I don't really like any of these guys going into it, and I'll probably just kind of see where they're at, maybe where they qualify. I think it's just so hard to really take a stab on anything here. Like no one here has showed consistency in any way. They've been up and down. It's just, how are they going to look in Portland? Where do they qualify? And that's what I'm going to go with. Like, even going into this, I guess if I had to choose, I guess I trust Rosenquist. I don't love him at 15.8. I don't think he's, particularly strong, but if I had to pick one, it's probably him, maybe Erickson. I might have a Marcus Erickson blind spot. I think I've liked him a little higher than our prices for a few weeks here, to varying degrees of success. But yeah, I don't think I want any part of Rossi. I don't really want Simpson here. Yeah, I don't know. It's just, this is tough. I think this is the tier I have the least conviction on, and it's really just going to be, how do they practice, how do they qualify, and then I'll go from there, because I think with lineup construction, you're going to need someone from this tier. I just have no idea who it's going to be at this point.
And that's the thing. If we look at the dividing line of, say, Felix Rosenquist at 15.8 or Kiffin Simpson at 15.4, and you look below that line, do you love any of those drivers?
No, I don't love anyone, honestly, but below Newgarden at 16.1, and it's really just going to be who looks best later today and tomorrow morning. They're all just so close together, and I think at this point, we're not prioritizing value as much. It really is strictly points with only 3 races left. So whoever looks good is going to find their way onto the lineup, and then I'll deal with, having to maybe cut guys, pay early release fees, whatever it is. It's all about points right now.
And it is tricky to pick out a lineup that fits within your budget. Like, that's sort of the fun part. We can't just load up on the expensive drivers. And speaking of cutting drivers, Kenway asks, if you have Malukas signed for the rest of the season, do you drop him for somebody else depending on where he qualifies? I would say, yeah, if he has a bad qualifying, if they're looking slow this weekend, consider cutting him if you can upgrade. The question is always, who are you signing instead of Malukas? And if let's say Newgarden looks good and you don't have him, and you sign Newgarden, that could be a good choice. If
Yeah.
you're cutting Malukas and you're looking at maybe somebody like a Rahal or a Rosenquist that are still looking mid-pack, don't know that that's an upgrade given that there is a drop fee.
Yeah, and I think I'd also recommend, if it's close, go ahead and pull the trigger. I think if it was the 3rd race of the season, I would say just hang on to it and see what happens. But at this point, like, I'm going to be much more aggressive with paying drop fees, just even for a few more points here and there. Value is not a huge concern at this point of the season. So if you think you're going to get more points out of another driver, and it might cost you a little bit of money, which I think you might make up on the back end too, based on that driver going up in value. And if you think Malukas won't be strong, or any driver for that matter, you're probably going to lose money and lose value if you're correct about your assumption. So be much more aggressive doing that at this point in the season than you would have, 3, 4, 5 races ago.
This week, sorry to step on you. Like this week, I'm actually looking a lot at who I want for the ovals in terms of who I'm signing and what my contract lengths are. I want to make sure that certain guys are available for the ovals, like Newgarden, like Daly. That's what I have there. What do you think, Ben?
That's kind of what makes Malukas interesting. I mean, he was completely anonymous last year at Portland. Started 25th, landed 20th for driving for MSR. Not too much worse than his teammate Felix Rosenquist, 18th to 14th, but not great. That would have given him 72 fantasy points. So not a strong showing for him there. He was a factor at Gateway this year, so I kind of like him for Milwaukee. So since seeing as you've got him signed through the last 2 ovals, I don't know. There's potential value there, or not value. There's potential points there. We're talking points. But yeah, I agree with everything both of you guys are saying about eat the drop fees whenever you feel like you have to. But it'd be a weird situation if to pay the drop fees for him now, and then say he qualifies well next week, and now you want to re-sign him. That puts you in a weird spot. So
that would be the one thing. Like, if you did cut him this week, he would be available. It would be available for the ovals,
yeah,
since he would serve the cool down.
There you go. And I do like him better at I mean, he had a great showing at Indy as well, fourth, right? So, you know, very, very different track, but Nashville is technically our only other speedway oval. So I don't know. I do like him for both of those ovals. I plan to be talking about him heavy next week, but yeah, if that's the case, yeah, you may want to pay that drop fee, drop him, and then re-sign him. Don't be afraid to look silly by doing that. That might be a genius move for you.
So we had talked about so Ben, we talked about you like Ray Hall out of this tier we've been discussing.
Hmm.
Anyone else you have strong feelings about before we go to the last tier?
I have medium feelings about some of them. I am actually starting Rosenquist. And maybe that's the hippie jam bander in me. That it's a very, very small part of me, but it's in there. They are bringing back the Grateful Dead livery from Laguna, so hopefully it'll last more than one lap this week. So I'm feeling some good vibes there. I want to be pulling for that car. And going back to the MSR CGR thing, um, y- people are going to look at it a little differently, but the way I kind of see it, they're a 5-car team essentially working out of two different buildings, and it's Pelot, Dixon, maybe Rosenquist, then Armstrong, then Simpson. So you're talking maybe the third or fourth Ganassi car any given weekend. So that's kind of where I doubled up, and I couldn't afford Armstrong. Armstrong's been the hot hand of the two lately, but I think long term, I think Rosenquist is better overall. But yeah, Simpson's got his moments. I love running the Kiff dog, but yeah, even slightly cheaper. But yeah, Rossi's burned me too much this year. I've been running him, or I haven't played him in a few weeks, but early in the year I was really high on him. I really thought ECR had taken a big step forward, and it just hasn't borne out. But
Yeah, they got me too.
yeah,
That said, if we want to get on the hope bus for Rossi, he's had some results on ovals, and Indy probably would have gone good if the car hadn't burst into flames. So
yeah,
maybe the ovals, maybe like particularly Nashville, but we shall see.
yep,
Uh, On to our final tier. That's headed by Nolan Siegel. And then we've got Robert Schwartzman, Louis Foster, Stingray, Rob Devlin, DeFrancesco, and Jacob Abel, ranging from 12.9 to $8.1 million. And what do we call this tier?
This is the lost at sea tier. Just these guys kind of seem to just be wandering around aimlessly in the sea, hoping to spot a flock of seagulls and avoid deadly stingrays.
All right.
So I don't know. It's hard. It's these guys. It's very similar to the tier above them. One of these guys is probably going to qualify pretty well, have a chance at a top 10. The rest of them are going to run in the 20s. And you probably won't know that until you see practice. I'd say it's more likely to be probably Siegel and Foster, I think, have separated themselves from this tier despite having the same prices as everybody else. I don't think there's really any reason to run Abel, DeFrancesco, Stingray, or Schwartzman, but I think there's potential for upside with Siegel and Foster in my mind at least.
Those are the only two that have really produced any kind of results or hope of results out of this tier. It's been a fairly anonymous year for Schwartzman, like apart from the poll at the Indy 500. Uh, yeah, DeFrancesco seems to have trouble every week. Abel as well. Yeah, so like, we'll see how many of these guys have seats next year, and uh, but that's like they are still fighting for something, right? You want to stay on the grid, and you got to produce results. But yeah, we'll see. I like Siegel and Foster. I'm not dying to sign any of these other guys. Like if I have to sign somebody, then to make it fit, then those are my choices.
Yeah, if Ray Hall rolls off looking good, I like Foster. Foster's definitely got the talent. Hasn't gotten the results, at least not when I choose to play him. But yeah, I'm confident in Foster's future for sure. That said, just based on the mechanics of this game, it's a beautiful thing. My $100 million lineup, I did have to run Siegel and Abel. So
Oh wow!
yeah,
I can't
yeah.
stand
Stack
I
at the
went top
top.
heavy again. I
Studs and
couldn't.
duds.
Yeah, exactly. Studs and duds for sure. Yeah, I don't know. Abel's been bottom of the list for forever. But looking at who was in that car last year, Toby Sowery, kind of, driving with his hair on fire. I mean, he knew that was kind of the end of the line for him in IndyCar, and he wanted to go out with a bang. Qualified 19th, finished 17th. That's nothing to write home about. But if Abel was able to get that 17th place finish, that would be pretty massive for him. So, and the attrition is going to be happening. I can pretty much guarantee that. So
That's the real
it's
trick.
entirely possible.
Like if you want value, if you want outsized point results, throw a dart at the board. If they stay out of trouble, they could actually finish somewhat above average and pick up some improvement points that way just by avoiding trouble. And
Yep.
somebody will probably be lucky enough to do that.
Yeah, as much flack as Abel gets, and it's mostly deserved. He doesn't cause a lot of wrecks. I think he caused one in Iowa, and he took out Newgarden at Toronto. But that's all I really remember from him. He's pretty nondescript out there. So, in a high attrition race, he will almost certainly be starting the race in the back of the field. Sorry, not sorry. But that could mean he's out of trouble for the start. So we'll see.
I was gonna say, I don't think his Abel's name been mentioned on the broadcast during a race at any point outside of a wreck.
Just in the context of lap traffic.
I was gonna say, like, lap traffic might be it.
Yeah.
It's back marker equipment, and let's be honest, it's a pay driver.
So, yeah, I mean,
this is what you get.
But I mean, we might as well settle in because he's got more than enough money to be back next year. He wants to be back next year. Honestly, I think if he had been able to start the Indy 500 this year, maybe he calls it a career. But having that hole on your resume is not going to sit well with him. So he'll be back, so I wish him the best. I hope he turns it around, finds something. But yeah, maybe it's with Coin, maybe it's not with Coin. We'll see how that shakes out. But yeah, no. To his credit, he had the stones to come on the broadcast for Indy. Talk about not making the field. He's a stand-up dude. But yeah, I think he's as much as we're eschewing value, I feel like he's a value play at a race that is historically known for its attrition rate. He might be a good play to just, hunker down. He may finish a lap or two down, but if 5-6 cars don't make the end of the race, boom.
Do you think this heat's going to mess with the hybrids like we saw at Thermal?
I don't know. I feel like, I mean, they're not going to talk about this kind of stuff behind the scenes, but I'm sure there's been a lot of work behind the scenes by, I think it's X-Track is one of the main partners there building the MGU. We haven't really talked about the hybrid since then. I mean, it's pretty much I don't want to call it a non-factor, but I can't recall any major hybrid failures
Yeah, you don't see it
since then.
ruining races at this point, which is a good thing. We don't want to be talking about like a spec component breaking. So, yeah,
Yeah, thermal was bad. Thermal. I know at least Chevy was telling guys not to, not to use it over a certain RPM to avoid blowing it up. So that's not a good place to be, you know, building race cars. But
let's also hope the production truck can stand the heat this time as well.
yeah,
They have electricity in Oregon, maybe. Like I don't know, they don't have that in California, but
yeah.
they may have it in Oregon.
Hopefully
So we got to,
they're on the grid. Yeah.
yeah. So
You
we
have to
got a few
cut to
minutes left.
Watkins Glen.
We got a few minutes left. We'll get on to these $100 million lineups. My Laguna Seca lineup was good for 698 points. If only Simpson had avoided trouble. Oh well. My lineup for Portland's, I've got Colton Herta, Scott McLaughlin, talent driver, Joseph Newgarden, Graham Rahal, Felix Rosenquist, and Callum Iwat for 99.4 million.
Ooh.
Wow. That's a pretty solid lineup if your worst guy is Callum Iwat.
Yeah, I was trying to avoid scraping the bottom.
Sorry, I missed. I was opening a tab and my computer froze up. Did you say who your talent driver was?
McLaughlin.
McLaughlin. Okay, I figured.
It's so tasty. It's killing me not to run him, but
What you got, Ben?
So, Alex Pillow, Willpower, Graham Rahal, talent driver, Felix Rosenquist, Nolan Siegel, Jacob Abel. So
right.
yeah, like you said, studs and duds. I don't know. Hopefully things bear out this way. Yeah, qualifying is gonna really determine whether whether I look like a genius or an idiot.
It's always tough to do this without any on-track data. For me, I tend to lean towards a talent driver who's going to get you a lot of points. Like that's just such an outsized impact.
It's a really smart strategy. I'd say that is a much better than going with a talent driver that will score few points.
Agreed. Agreed.
I do think McLaughlin has a higher ceiling than Graham Rahal this particular week, but anything's possible.
The Penske ceiling is as high as any car on the grid, and we've been saying that for the entire season now, and it hasn't been true for the entire season. But
the ceiling's there, but the floor dropped out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going down with the captain's ship at this point. Like in F1, I'm going down with the Antonelli ship. Here, I'm going down with the Penske ship. If we did a NASCAR show, I'm sure I'd be going down with some ship over there.
Well, you're in good company.
Yeah, I'm still just on Penske. I've been on Penske all year. Hasn't paid off, but at this point, can't stop, right? No such thing as sunk cost.
Throw good money after bad.
Yeah, exactly. What could go wrong? I remember my econ textbooks.
Hey, we just scored $140 million from Fox, so there's plenty of money to burn.
Yeah, Fox owns a third of the sport now. Which we'll see. We'll see what the results of that are in the coming years. They definitely have more skin in the game.
I'm bullish for sure. I think it's gonna be great.
It's just like, please, just somebody figure it out. This is, I mean, I watch so much racing every single weekend, and without fail, Indy's usually the most entertaining product. So it's like, please figure this out. Get this in front of eyeballs. Get more people at the tracks. Like, IndyCar deserves so much better than what's going on now. It's incredible racing, and it's fun every single week, even with Pillow winning every race. So I think there's a lot of upside with IndyCar.
Get people to show up for those oval races. Those are good. Like that's the IndyCar I fell in love with. Like I started watching like during the IRL era where it was mostly ovals and there was a lot of wheel-to-wheel action. And we've gotten away from that in recent years, and the attendance has gotten away from that. There's still a place for the ovals.
Yeah, they've been very clear that they see the path forward being street races in new cities. I'm very much against that. I think you've got all these ovals, especially like the NASCAR mile and a half ovals. There's so many all over the country. They're just sitting there empty.
They're owned by NASCAR.
Well, I mean, I was owned by NASCAR. People talk about Watkins Glen. That's owned by NASCAR. I don't think that's the deterrent that it used to be, especially now with the Fox buy-in. Fox is in bed with NASCAR, so there's some levers to pull there. But yeah, I don't think we'll see new ovals until the new car is here. I'm hoping and praying that Delara builds that car to handle higher speed ovals, because I think bringing back a little bit of that element from the IRL days is something that IndyCar needs.
Yeah, more oval. I like oval racing's the best. I want more ovals in IndyCar, and there's no reason why we shouldn't see massive IndyCar growth over the next couple years. So everybody in the chat, tell all your friends, start watching IndyCar
and play fantasy on Grid Rival, official fantasy game of the IndyCar series.
And read my article on gridrival.com about the Fox buy-in.
That's you. Ben has a lot of interesting things to say.
Yep. Many people are saying that IndyCar plus Fox plus Grid Rival is like some sort of holy trinity. So make sure to jump in on the ground floor.
All we need are the fans now.
With our powers combined.
Exactly.
To the moon.
All right. And on that note, I believe it is time to sign off. Join us again in, I believe, 2 weeks is Milwaukee. And yeah, we head down the stretch of the season. And if you enjoyed this, hit like, hit subscribe, find out every time we are putting out this content. We do it before every IndyCar race and every Formula One race, which that's not for another few weeks, but join us for that too. And we'll see you around.
Thanks for stopping by, everybody. Have a great weekend. All right, we are ended on YouTube. Let me stop recording here.